The floor does not give beneath him, though his weight shifts violently from one foot to the other, dragged forward in uneven bursts. Heels scraping stone, wrists pulled tight behind his back until the rope cuts deeper into swollen flesh. And the man behind him does not adjust his grip, does not correct the imbalance, only drives him onward with a steady pressure that never rises, never hesitates. The chamber is already waiting. Iron stands open ahead, taller than a man, shaped with intention rather than craft. Its interior lined with long spikes that do not glisten but absorb the weak torchlight. Dull and patient, positioned with a precision that suggests familiarity with the body long before this moment, long before this man. The condemned tries to turn, not fully, not enough to escape, only enough to slow the forward motion, his shoulder twisting, his bound hand straining uselessly as his breath shortens into sharp, shallow pulls that never quite fill his chest, and the executioner's hand closes harder across his upper arm, not in anger, but in correction. There's no command spoken, no signal given. The movement continues. It was said in court that this device had been used before, that others had stood where he now stumbles, that the spikes were measured to avoid the heart, to delay what could be ended quickly. But the same voices that carried this claim never agreed on names, never agreed on dates, and in some records, no such device was mentioned at all, leaving only absence where certainty should have stood. What cannot be disputed, however, is the presence of the iron. The distance closes. Each forced step shortens the space between flesh and metal until the air itself seems to narrow, until the cold radiating from the open structure presses outward, meeting the heat of a body that refuses to stop resisting, even as resistance achieves nothing but exhaustion. The executioner does not rush. His boots land evenly, heel then weight, guiding rather than striking. And the difference is not mercy, it is efficiency, the kind learned through repetition rather than cruelty, the kind that leaves no room for improvisation. The condemned man's name is recorded elsewhere as Matthias Kruger, written in a tight hand that does not tremble, attached to charges that shift depending on the account. In some he is a thief, in others a traitor, in still others a man who spoke too freely where silence would have preserved him. No version agrees completely. All versions end here. His shoulder meets the edge first. Not the spikes, not yet, but the frame, cold and unmoving, halting his forward motion for a fraction of a moment before the pressure behind him increases, measured, deliberate, forcing his chest closer, aligning him without ceremony, without acknowledgement. His breath breaks. The spikes are close enough now to define shape through proximity alone, their points positioned at throat, chest, abdomen, not striking, not touching, but waiting in a stillness that suggests inevitability rather than threat. According to palace servants, there were whispers that the device was never meant to kill at all, that it was designed only to frighten, to force confessions from those who believed the door would close, that many broke before it ever moved, collapsing into admission simply to avoid what they imagined would follow. Yet those same accounts failed to explain why the hinges were reinforced, why the spikes were fixed rather than removable, why the interior bore marks that could not be attributed to fear alone. The rope around his wrists tightens again as he twists, not away this time, but downward, his knees bending in a final attempt to lower his body beneath the line of the spikes. But the executioner adjusts instantly, lifting, forcing him upright, removing even that small defiance with a motion that has been practiced enough to require no thought. The chamber remains silent, no audience, no witness beyond the official who stands at a distance, observing without stepping forward, his hands folded into the sleeves of his robe, eyes fixed not on the man, but on the mechanism, as though the outcome lies in the iron rather than the flesh. There are accounts from Prague that describe a similar device, though smaller, less refined, said to have been used in secret proceedings where records were intentionally obscured. And yet in Vienna, documents from the same period describe punishments in detail, without once mentioning such a structure, leaving a gap that no later explanation fully resolves. The condemned man's chest touches the first spike. Not enough to pierce. Enough to understand. His body recoils instinctively, muscles tightening, spine arching backward into the unyielding force behind him, and for the first time, the executioner's grip shifts, not to release, but to secure. One hand pressing against the sternum, flattening resistance, holding him in place as the alignment completes. There is no struggle left that changes position, only effort without effect. It was written by one chronicler that no blood was ever seen outside the device, that the design ensured containment, that whatever occurred within remained hidden even as it unfolded. But another account dismisses this entirely, claiming the entire structure was a later invention, constructed to satisfy a growing appetite for horrors, attributed to an age already distant enough to absorb them. Neither account removes the iron from this room. The door begins to move. The hinges do not creak. They shift with a low, controlled weight, a motion that is neither fast nor slow, only certain, closing the space that had been measured so precisely, bringing each point forward along a path that does not deviate, does not hesitate, does not require correction. The condemned man does not cry out, not because there is no pain, because there is no time left for it to form. The chamber does not change after. The iron stands as it did before, closed now, its surface reflecting less light than it absorbs. The executioner stepping back not in retreat, but in completion, his hands lowering, his task reduced to stillness as quickly as it had been defined by motion. In Nuremberg, records begin to circulate years later describing the device in greater detail than any earlier account, each retelling adding precision, adding certainty, until the absence of original evidence is replaced by the weight of repetition. In Prague, travelers speak of having seen similar constructions, though none agree on location. And in Vienna, scholars argue over whether such an instrument could have existed at all, even as replicas begin to appear in collections, meant to display the brutality of a past that cannot answer for itself. The name Matthias Kruger remains attached to some of these accounts, removed from others, altered in spelling. Replaced entirely, the device remains constant, or becomes so through telling. In certain descriptions, the spikes are longer. In others, fewer. Some claim the door never fully closed. Others insist it sealed completely, leaving nothing visible of what it contained. Each version strengthens the last. Each contradiction preserves it. The chamber empties. The official records what he chooses to record. The executioner leaves without looking back. The iron remains. Years pass, then decades, then a century. And still, the shape is remembered more clearly than the man who stood before it, more clearly than the hands that forced him forward, more clearly than the silence that followed. The device is rebuilt, displayed, described as ancient, accepted as truth, until doubt returns, not to erase it, but to deepen it, to suggest that what was feared may never have existed, and that what never existed may have been feared more completely than anything that did. And if no one can prove that it was ever used, why does the image of it closing still feel so certain?